Hey YouTubers, I'm here to show you how to store rock dust. I made a big mistake. I got some rock dust last year and I used some of it in my raised bed garden, and I stored the rest in the bag that it came in. I, I left it outside. It was kind of covered with some plastic or a tarp, but it got very moist and wet, and it just became a big clump of moistened rock dust that I could ball up in my hand, and it didn't really sprinkle or spread nicely after that. The bag itself started getting mixed in with the rock dust. It was just a paper bag and it had some packing tape around it, so that got all mixed into it. So what I'm doing today is actually dehydrating my rock dust. I have it in the oven right now, and I'm putting it in pans. I'll show you in a few minutes, and I'm letting it dehydrate so it's totally dry and like dust once again. So I'll show you what it looks like now, and then we'll go inside. I'll show you in the oven how it's looking right now and how I'm going to store it. Okay, so here is a bag of rock dust. It's not in the original bag. I'm actually using a peat moss bag, but I put the bag of Azomite in the paper bag inside the peat moss bag, and I stored it outside, and still moisture got in there, and the rock dust now, as you can see, it will clump up. It's very moist. You can't really wring out water, but it's definitely moist, and it just is not dry rock dust. So it's really not usable in terms of being able to sprinkle it in the garden or sprinkle it when I'm transplanting a plant or anything like that. And then also, here's the bag, parts of the bag that I keep pulling out. It just got mixed in with the rock dust, and as you can see, just pieces of paper. There's also some packing tape mixed in there. So what I've done is I'm taking this rock dust a little bit at a time, putting it on a pan and in the oven, set at had it set for 170 degrees, but I cranked it up to 200, and it's just drying out a little bit faster. And I'm not really trying to make it super hot. I just want to obviously get it dry, and then I'll put it in a watertight storage bin, which I'll show you just in a few minutes. Okay, so here's the rock dust in the oven, and I've got two pans of it. One of them is probably dry by now, and the way I tell is, you see how light the color is on that? Just turn it over. It's a little bit darker on the inside. That means it's still wet. So on the edges it's completely dry, but in the middle, where it's piled up, there's still some moisture in there. So I'm just coming in here, mixing it up a little bit from time to time. And I already got one pan dried out this way, and it seems to be working great. Let me show you the other pan. I just put that in there a few minutes ago. This one a few minutes ago. But I laid it on a little bit thinner so that it might dry out a little bit quicker. It's kind of like getting the balance right of putting not too much in there, because it will take a long time for a big pile to dry out, but also it takes a while just to keep changing them and drying it out a little bit at a time. And there is a piece of the bag that's mixed in there. So it really caused me a headache just not storing it properly. So I'll show you how I'm going to store it, and hopefully this will help you. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I'm going to store the rock dust from this point forward. And as you can guess, this is a pretty simple solution. It's just a bucket from Home Depot that I've had laying around with the top. And that's the first batch of rock dust that I dried out. It's still warm, actually. And you can see that it's just dusty. And it's not really good to breathe that in, because it's fine rock, and you really don't want to breathe that in. And normally I would use a face mask, but anyway, I'm just being real careful. I'm not exposing myself to that dust. You really don't want to do that. So right now the top is just on there, but if I push down on it, I can seal it and get a airtight, watertight seal. So I think that's the best way to store it. And you know, I might have a place inside the house that I could store it. I would recommend doing that in a garage or a shed or something, rather than just being out in the yard. I might put it in the greenhouse. I'm not sure. Being sealed up in here, it should be okay wherever it is, but I don't want to take any chances of moisture getting in there by just leaving it out laying in the yard. So, so the greenhouse, the shed, or in my house are some options. But the key is to get it into a watertight container. The reason I didn't use all the rock dust is I started a raised bed garden last year, and I used about half the bag. I think it was a 40-pound bag, or maybe it was a 60-pound bag. I don't remember, but I used about a third or half of it when I put the compost in, and I mixed it with the rock dust, and it seemed like it was okay for now. And I had the soil tested. There's plenty of minerals in there. The rock dust really did help, and I don't want to overdo it, so I kind of keep it handy and might add some more in the spring to the raised bed garden, and I use it when I pot things and plants and whatever. So, but it's been a real headache since it got wet and moist, clumping together. It's just been kind of hard to sprinkle it in light amounts where I want it, just because it's clumping together, or was clumping together. So anyway, with this dry rock dust inside this this bucket with a watertight seal on it should solve the problem.